Hello, good evening. Welcome. My name is Kwabena. Welcome. Today is another day. I want to share with you briefly, hopefully, briefly. Restart. Restart if you have to begin again, if you have to start life again, if you have to start the business again, if you have to start that family again, if you have to start that marriage again. Some of the things that you may have to look at. I think that especially those people or those of us who happen to have interest in business, in enterprise, in commerce, in private life, the restart comes in several times. They come in every now and then. They say that in the first 5 years, maybe 80-90% of businesses that start will not do well, will collapse. And then the next 5 years, another 90% or so of those who survive will also fail, which means that it's just about 1% or so survival rate. And so the only chance is for restart. And if you are restarting and you don't have the right understanding of things, you may wound yourself, because it takes a lot of strength to restart. If you're the kind of person who compares, who tries to look at other people and to say that, he is my friend. Hey, Enoch, welcome. It was nice meeting you today. So if you're that kind of person who you try to compare yourself with your friends, with your mate, with people of your age, with people that you think when you were in class you were better than, then restarting will be very much difficult for you. But for the little understand about business and life in general, there are a lot of things that you would have to know, because restarting is part of it. Sometimes the business you started, the 2 years, 3 years, everything was going well. Then the next time, if nothing is working. Now you have to go back to the drawing board, as they say, rethink, replan, retool, and get back to the game again. If you're that kind of person that failing or failure is strange to you, restarting will not be something that will be in your vocabulary. People get to meet difficulties in life, and for those of us who've been born on this part of the earth and how they have groomed us and how they have trained us, it's almost like if you meet difficulties and problems and challenges, which for some part of the world, it's just normal for you to meet challenges. If you set goal for yourself, if you want to do anything, you meet challenges, you meet problems, you have to become better, you have to re-strategize, you have to get tools to get the results. In our part of the world, when most people get problems, they think it's some super force or some unseen force or somewhere which is trying to take their place. And so when people are doing business and they make difficulties, they think that there is a demon somewhere. It's not a demon. I think that most part of what people go through in trying to become anything, it's not demon. It's just a process that you have to understand. It's just a stage. A lot of them are just skills that you don't have. A lot of them are just the required, the required attributes that you must develop for you to get results. And so restarting, just understand that life, anybody at all can get to a stage that, the things that they have committed to. Somebody was married for 10 years, and then something happens. They didn't pay attention to something, and then the thing didn't work. After 2 years, they have to go and maybe look at another person again and see if they can build a big business, a family with it, so with that person. So restarting can be in life, it can be in business, it can be in anything. Sometimes even in your finances, you were doing so well, you were in touch with your finances, and then you slept, you made wrong choice, and you're back to zero. You even went into debt. So if you went into debt, now you have to have to get back to paying those debt and then start to rebuild again. And these things happen to a lot of people. Now, if you don't have the right thinking in terms of that, you may never look at restarting as something that it's just part of life. It happens to be part of life. It happens to a lot of people because life generally, uh, it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve. So I think that when you are restarting, sometimes you restart with a better intelligence. You restart with a better understanding of life. You restart with a better understanding of how things are supposed to be. You restart with better intelligence. And so if you happen to be in that stage where I have restarted a lot of things, a lot of them, because when you have to move, let's say entrepreneurship, if you have to move and you don't know what to do, you just have to move. And sometimes when you're moving, because you don't know what you're doing, you may start on the wrong, on the wrong path, and then it gets to maybe some 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you see that no, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have gone with this person. I shouldn't have made this kind of decision. I should not even have started with this product or this business. I should not even have situated the business this way. I should have done that. So now you go and it's not working. Backtrack, take some break, and re-strategize. And don't blame anybody. Don't even blame yourself so much, because sometimes you just have to reboot the computer, or sometimes you put your computer on and it freezes. The only way that you have to do is what? Is to shut it down and restart it. And hopefully it will restart well. So sometimes you just have to restart, and you restart with better understanding of how things must be. You restart with better skill, with better know-how, and sometimes with better network. And sometimes and it's not even sometimes, a lot of it is also when you are restarting, you also restart with a better character. Maybe before you hit the wall because you were deceptive. A lot of the times you were not really, not because you were trying to trick somebody, but you were not trying to see the situation as it should be seen. And so you had some things you were not seeing clearly. When you are restarting, sometimes you may be able to see a little bit better, and all these contribute to the if you're restarting and you're equipped differently and better, you will see that something that would take somebody more years, more time, now because you're restarting and you are better positioned, you're better equipped, you have a little sense, and a little appreciation of how things should be done. You'll probably be able to compress the time and get to the destination a bit faster. And you will see that when you are restarting, you restart with the right note, you see that if you don't pay the dues, if you don't put in the hours, if you don't pay attention to that which you want to build, whether you want to build a successful career, whether you want to build a business, whether you want to build a family, a relationship, maybe even a country, if you are not, because there's a certain amount of attention, there's a certain amount of activities that must be put in it for results to come. When you are restarting and you have better clarity, you know that if you don't put in the hours, nothing is going to change. If you don't pay attention, if you don't get the right decisions made, not much is going to change. It's an error of life for people to believe that things will change just because they think it will change. Nothing changes in your favor that much if you did not commit to the change intentionally. So everyone can restart. And sometimes you restart now with a better understanding of who to link with, who to start with again, who to flow with. Because when things don't work, usually when something did not work, there was always somebody somewhere who contributed to why something did not work. So maybe if you're restarting again, you will have a better understanding as to who probably to connect with for this one to work and work well. So if it's finances, it's the same. The finance is not going to get better until you have proper understanding of how the finance must get better. So when you have a fair chance to restart, when maybe your business was, your business went into bankruptcy, maybe your business, you borrowed from everywhere, and the debt has probably sunk you, and now see, the thing is that you have to be honest with the situation. You have to sit back, recalibrate, what is it? Recalculate. I was trying to say recalibrate. Recalculate the situation and be honest with yourself. Because that debt that the business got into, you were only in the debt because there are things that you took for granted. There are things that you didn't see. There are things that you made wrong choices and decisions on it. So finances is like that. And most often, when people are saying that they are not happy with their life, or they are in a difficult situation or difficult stage of in their business, in their marriage, in everything that they're doing, any situation that you think you're not comfortable with, you don't see you going forward, usually it's because there was something that you did not understand well. And most often, when people are saying that they are not happy with their life, a lot of it has got to do with finance. And so a lot of us will have to reboot with the finances. And so if you're rebooting with the finances, you cannot just hope that the thinking that created the problem, that state of mind, that mindset, that philosophy, the worldview that you have, the way you look at life, and that created that problem that now you have to restart, re-begin. You have to begin your life again. You cannot begin your life again with the same thing, with the same kind of thinking that got you into that situation in the first place. Which means that you may have to regather better information and possibly take some break and look at how the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your life is going to be different from what has been. Because every one of us, somewhere with our lives, somewhere with our life, there will be the need for us to restart somewhere. It could be family that you have to restart. It could be business that you have to regather and replan and relaunch the business again. It could be what? It could be a career. Maybe you had a good job where they believe in you, they trusted you, and then you made some wrong choices and wrong decisions, or even listened to wrong people. And the people who gave you so much confidence in you, you started to sleep with them. And maybe you even quit the job, and you were looking for so-called better opportunity somewhere, and now you look back and say, no, I should have stayed with these people. You just have to see, okay, you missed it. Sometimes you may have to go and tell them why you took that decision. And maybe explain. And if you really if you really believe that that place is a good place for you, you may have to just go and humble and cut the ego and say that, listen, I made a mistake. So you cut the ego and say that, sorry, I would want to come back and work with you. I took some things for granted. I was short-sighted, and I'm sorry. If they happen to give you another chance, then you know that you have to start well and probably increase your activities, get the results, and this time around, hopefully you will not slip again. Maybe it's a girlfriend that you had, and the girl was very good, but you were, because usually before we hit the ground, before we hit the wall, before we fail, it was a stupid decision that we made, most of it. And so maybe good girl, you miss her, and now you want to go back. You just have to go back and just present the situation as it is, and hopefully somebody has not taken it. Maybe it's a marriage. Some people have very good marriage. They're looking for perfect men, which they don't exist. You're looking for perfect women, which they don't exist. So you have a lot of good things going on, but because you're naive, because you were selfish, because you were thinking differently, because you were hallucinated, you thought that woman was not good. So maybe you just stop that. And now you have gone on, you see that, no, this one, I should have maybe stayed with her. You have to restart again. And one thing I've seen about life is that almost every 10 years or so, there's a new thing, there's a major thing that happens in our life. So every one of us, even if everything is working well, you start to grow, you start to become big. It's always every stage, it seems like you are restarting. Let's say you have one business you're doing, is working well, and you want to add another business to it. The moment you want to add another business to it, you have technically changed the game. You have changed the formula. You're going into a state now that you have never been. Before, your business was 1. Now your business is 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Anytime that something changes, you're technically restarting. And when you are restarting, a lot of things are changed. A lot of things get to change whenever you are adding. So your growing life is like that. It's a constant change. you're growing. So once you're growing, every now and then it appears like you're really changing and you're really restarting your life. And so I'm talking to the business people. If you have to shut that business because it's not working, if you have done a business for 20 years, for 10 years, and your revenue every year or every month is 2,000, 3,000, and you are struggling and you are fighting, you are disagreeing with everybody, you are so much exhausted. I think that sometimes if you have done it for 10 years, 20 years, and you're not seeing your way, you probably would have to shut that business, because not every business will get you to where you want to go. You know, if you take Tigo, for a Tico, that small car, there's a speed that there's a limit. The capacity of the engine cannot go to a certain speed within a certain time. So same if you somebody takes Land Cruiser, it's a different thing. So sometimes the business that people pick, the kind of business that you're in, you can see that this kind of business you are going to struggle all your life. Why? Because maybe it's not even scalable. Maybe the market is not ready. Maybe the culture is not ready. Maybe the people are not even ready. Or maybe you have to do a lot of unethical things that you don't like. So you are always worried about what you're doing, which is not good. Probably they're against your faith, your belief, they're against your belief. So if you're always feeling guilty of these activities that the business is into, you're not going to grow, which means that you may have to tell yourself that, listen, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not okay with this kind of business. And so I may have to just shut the business and go and start in an area that I think that they meet my philosophy, they meet my belief, they meet the things that I hold dearly. Because sometimes it's not just about the money, sometimes it's also about the things that you hold dearly. If you have to take that business and be asking for all kind of things and you're not comfortable, you feel like, no, this is not for me. Maybe you're compromising your values, you're compromising your faith, you're compromising so many things. You may have to look at the business and say that, no, this is not for me. I may have to go and start in an industry that I have a bit of control, that I can be credible, I can be honest, I can do things the way that I think things should be done well. Because something about business is that the more you are in a business that you're credible, the more in the business that you are honest, the more you are in a business that you can be truthful, the better that you get to develop your skill, the better you get to develop as a person. So if a business sector is so much polluted and I can make millions from that business, I would prefer to make thousands in a business that I think that a lot of things are not conflicting with my Christian belief. A lot of things are not conflicting with what I stand for. Things that I know that I could be proud of. I know that if it's A, I'm trying to say it's A. If it's B, it's B. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to learn well. I would opt for that kind of business and grow gradually and grow slowly than for me to get into a business that I explode, knowing that I'm killing a lot of things. I'm going against a lot of things that my belief uh, is against. So restart. Start in an industry that you have a lot of things, because you must be a person of values. You must be a person of philosophy. You must have a stand. You must have what you do and what you don't. Some people, they are doing business, but they do all kind of things and they think that they are smart. You're not smart. It will catch up with you. And so restart with better intelligence, restart with better work ethics, restart with better credibility, restart with that. So if you have wasted 5 years in that, if you have wasted 20 years in that, and you are not happy, because the only reason we try to restart sometimes a lot of the times is because we are not seeing our way, or we want to get bigger, whatever it is. You want to build something that you're proud of. You want to build something that you can say that this one, I built it. You want to build something that you can say that, because usually a lot of us would want to say, by the grace of God, it is God, the way we have been brought up. And so you would want to say these things knowing very well that it's indeed God who helped you to build that business. And if you're restarting, then restart in an area that this one, it took indeed God. It's not the bribe that you paid. It's not the connection that you did, because some people are saying that is God who helped them to become successful, but that it's the bribe that they paid, is the things that the connection that they took, it's somebody's money that they took. Some people have built houses, bought cars, They are saying they have written at the back by the grace of God and God's favor and breakthrough and anointing and all that, but they know that they stole money from the state, they stole money from their employers, they stole money from their brother, they stole money from their wife, and yet they want to cloud it with all kind of religious jargons, and it doesn't worth it. So restart knowing that you're going to work to deserve the growth that comes with it, the rewards that will come. Restart knowing that now you are a better person starting. Before you could screw and lie and cheat, before you could just do something, now you are restarting knowing that you want to go with the best of character, best of integrity, and now you are committed into learning and becoming better as a person. You're always learning, studying. That's what. So if you get to a point in your life that you feel like everything is not working, you're very desperate, you're very anxious, you're not happy with your life, which a lot of people sometimes they think that everybody else is doing well except them. It's not like that. Every human being you see on this earth has something that they're struggling with, has something that they're dealing with, has something. Every human being, no matter how you think, every one of them, there is somewhere in their lives that they are not proud of, that they have to work on. So it's a constant work that all of us have to do. So if you happen to have some areas that you're not happy with, see how you can restart it and maybe improve it. And never let the idea of I'm late in life, nothing is working for me, all my friends have gone ahead, those kind of things that people, because those things put a heavy load on you. They make you depressed. I don't try to compare myself with anybody. I try as much as I can to be impressed with what people do, to be happy, and let them run their lives, let me run my life. I see. I try not to compare myself with anybody, because what makes people, sometimes because your friend, built a house, bought a car, maybe traveled to other country, and you think that you are in your yes, sometimes it's not easier to start, but I think it's easier to restart than to die. It is easier, Robert, to restart than to die, or to continue to make the same mistakes and wallow in the failure and the detour. Because the thing you are pushing is not working, and that it's not working for years. It's not working. Sometimes you meet some contractors, you meet them. So when we used to go for tender, you meet a contractor, and you look at the guys. You see, we were part of this project. But you can see that the man has nothing to show with all the years that he has been a contractor. Why? Because he should have changed the strategy. The formula he was using was not working. He was compromising in a lot of places. He was not dealing with the things that can make him build a business, because there are pillars. There are things that if you are building a business, if you're building a family, if you're building a career, there are things that you must pay attention to. If you don't pay attention to those things and you just keep moving, like the way a lot of people just moving, they see where money is, they are going there, they don't care. They just want to do everything to just impress people. Those kind of things, you will come back to square one. But if you're building your life, if you're building your business, you say, no, if I'm building a business, 1, I must have a goal for this business. 2, I must have people that I can train and grow with. 3, I must be able to handle the finances well. 4, I must be able to understand the kind of business that I'm in, to have the passion. Can the business grow? Maybe you are into farming, maybe you are into poultry, maybe you are into construction, maybe you are into retail, whatever, maybe you are into processing, food processing, something, maybe you are into mining. Whatever business that you think you are in, is it scalable? Are you passionate about it? Do you have the ability to lead people? Do you have the ability to manage the finances well? Can you see far? Can you apply technology to grow the business? Those things are the things that you pay attention to. If you don't pay attention to those things, then you will have to come back. Because until you're doing those, you're not going on anywhere. It doesn't matter. That's why you can see a contractor, he goes for 10 million project, this Yobi goes to buy Land Cruiser, in the next 5 years, you see that the guy is back to square one, because he was not building a business, he was just chasing money. The same with, say, family. If you want to build a family, You have to pay attention. You must know what the woman wants. You must know what the man wants. You must understand that money has a critical role to play in the marriage. You must know that people change as they grow, so you cannot be treating them as if the way you met them last 3 years, last 4 years, last 20 years. There are things that you must understand for you to keep a marriage going. That it's work, it's tough, it's difficult. When you have children, it changes the game. When you have another child, it changes the game. All those come up. So you cannot, you have to you have to re-strategize and reposition. And sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult, we understand that. But if you don't re-strategize, if you don't restart, if you don't, and you keep pushing it, then it will be a total failure. A total failure. So we have got, there are companies that I started, and some of them I started with friends. And the way they became, I just had to say that I'm not going to continue this. No matter how much we had invested, just have to shut it down. Why? Because I could see that the future will be trouble. I could see that if I continue to do this thing with these guys, it will be trouble. Why? Because when there was a little problem, they were not part of it. But whenever there is money, they show up. You'd never build anything with people like that. When there is difficulty, when there are problems, they run away. Then you have to deal with the problem. But when there is profit, when there is money, they show up. When we owe people, they don't own up. They don't come. They don't care. That's not that, so that's, for me, it proved that if we build this business into a big business, these people will be trouble for me. So I just had to cut it and start another one. And it didn't happen just one time, several times. Why? Because I was an idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. So if you have friends, you know that this friend only shows up when there are good things, and when there's trouble, you call him, he doesn't pick, he's not a friend. You probably would have to build a better relationship with somebody who knows the value of the friendship. So I had to look at what can I build with somebody who understands how a business is built and how it's better. And that, for me, that's where you restart. You restart with good people. You restart with people who have stamina. You restart with people who have long-term vision, people who really want to succeed, not people who just want to buy cars and be on TV. You want people who can have the patience to continue to build something that you can be proud of, build something that that at least this one we built it with some bit of honesty and credibility. And if there is a problem, you stay to solve the problem. If there is challenge, you stay to solve it. You never run away. If it takes you years to correct those, correct them. Correct them. Don't be chasing, preachers for miracles. Stay. Become buoyant. Learn the process. Develop because you failed because there were things that you didn't understand. So you go. So you build. Yes, Robert. So you build with that. You build with that foresight. You build with that. Once you restart and you know that the things are going, you see that you start to build the required managerial skills that you need, the required leadership that you need, the required understanding of the finance of the business. And it's not so much. Sometimes when we say that business takes a while, the 10 years, it's not so much that sometimes in the ninth year, sometimes in the 8th year, sometimes in the 7th year, all the things that you have gone through start to make sense. And sometimes within a split, you just explode. Why? Because you stayed with the process and you were able to change. And so if the thing is not working, if you're not a demon, that's something that you have to understand. It's something that you don't know. There's a skill that I don't know. That's why I was struggling like that. There's some understanding that I don't have. That's why I'm struggling like that. The moment I get to understand those things and position them well, I will explode. And sometimes you have to shut things down and restart. And position yourself. So my name is Kwabena. I'm talking about restart. It's either your life, your career, your business. If it's not working, It's because there are things that you don't know. It's not a demon chasing you. It's not witchcraft. It's not familiar spirits that they've been telling us, because they have destroyed our mind. When they start to say that every difficulty, every problem that you meet, there's somewhere the devil is somewhere trying to destroy you. A lot of those things are not true. A lot of the things that people go through is because they don't have the basic primary skills, the primary understanding as how things are done. That's why. So if you happen to get them, and if you have not developed them, then sit down, plan, shut the whole thing down. Say that this is what I need to understand, this is what I need to go. This path that I've taken, I'm not going to get there, so I have to stop it. If you don't do that, you'll be old and you still haven't understood anything. That's why sometimes you go for tender, you see the old contractors who have used typewriter to fill their documents because they did not shut down. They were still following the path that was not going anywhere, and they still think that they can win. Sometimes the most difficult people to convince are the people who are not getting any results, but they still think that what they know is the best. And it's never their fault. It's somebody's fault. It's never their fault. It's always somebody. They blame somebody. They blame the government. They blame the political party. They blame the economy. They blame everybody. But they never blame themselves to say that maybe I don't understand what is happening. But the thing about it is that it doesn't matter what party is in charge. Some people follow NDC, but when the NDC was in power, they never had anything. So people are following NPP. Don't have problem. Follow party. It's okay. It's a game. If they give you political position, no problem. But the foot soldiers, they call them. If you don't develop yourself, the party, even though your party will be in power, but you will still not benefit, because it doesn't work like that. So restart. I will stop the business that is not working. I will shut it down. If I don't understand it, I'll shut it down. The friendship, the friend is always showing up when there is true, when there is benefits, but when there are problems, they don't show up, I will shut it down. If the business partner is not committed to the problems of the business, that's always looking at just the profit, it's a bad business partner. You don't need him. You have to close it and go and look for somebody who understands how to partner to do business. I wish I could say the same thing on marriage, but that one is a bit more complicated, so you may have to work it out. You may have to work it out, So thank you very much for watching. Learn to restart your life. I'm recapping. Things happen, difficult things happen in life. Not every one of them is demonic. A lot of them is because we don't have the right skill set to deal with the situation. We don't have the right knowledge. We have not developed the right mindset to deal with the situation. And so if you have to restart, sometimes you're better positioned to restart knowing that if you pay in more, if you give in more, if you do more, you will get results. And you have to understand that it's a constant process of learning. You have to learn, you have to avail yourself, you have to read, you have to research, you have to go for data. There is a lot of data out there that you have to learn. It's not anymore. And there is another one, you have to go with character, you have to go with integrity. If you owe people, don't run away, even if they insult you. In business, a lot of business people have gone through all kind of crazy things. A lot of them, some of them, they came to take their house, they sold their cars, they took everything from them because they made mistakes, and those mistakes became debt. And so if you happen to have a business that has sent you into trouble, don't despair. Stay with the process. Fight back. Forget about what people are saying. Keep your integrity. Keep your honesty. Fight back. Go and tell the people that, listen, I made mistake, I have problems. Go and tell the bank, I'm not running away. I'm here and I'm going to fight till I get it right. If you run away, you will never get the money, because it means that you're a coward. If you cheat people and you just take their money and run away, no, let it be known, let it be said of you that you stay and you fought through the process just to keep your dignity. At least let you know, tell yourself that I'm a man who will stay with my word. If it's yellow, I'm going to stay. If I owe you, I'm not going to say I don't owe you. I'm going to pay. I may not have it today. I may be struggling. The business may not be making any profit, but I will tell you that I'll pay every bit of it. Whatever that we have to agree for me to pay, I have to pay. Why? Because without that, you will not develop the right nutrients, the right mindset, the right skill to get into the right prosperity that you're praying for, that you're looking for anointing water. Prosperity is not in anointing oil. Don't believe it. It's in these kind of things: skill development, financial knowledge, persistence, you know, commitment, courage, risk taking, credibility. You know, if you run away, you will never get it right. It's true. You never get it right if you run away. Stay with it. Fight. Learn. Let them curse you. Let them insult you. Let all your friends laugh at you. It doesn't matter. They will come and show you their cars. They will come and show you everything. Don't worry. If it's a business that you're building, continue. If that business is not working, get another one. Continue. I've never seen an entrepreneur who fails. You know, the business may fail, but you can always change. And you go with that new talent, that new understanding that you have, and you continue to grow, and you continue to grow, and never run away. The time that you are 30 years, 40 years, that when those guys who are receiving 3,000 now, 10 years time, they'll be receiving 6,000, 7,000. Your business could be making that in a day if you stayed with the process. If you stayed with the process. And so never run away from your mistakes. Never run away from the debt, from the loans. Don't change your address. Don't change your name. Tell people, I made a mistake. I came for the money. I made a mistake. I'm not running away. Because every business person that you see has handled this. That I can tell you. If not every, maybe 99%. They have made a lot of mistakes with money, and a lot of them went into debt. A lot of them had a lot of, cash flow issues everywhere, and especially with our kind of economy that we have. A lot of us just didn't understand what we were doing, and so we went through that. So never run away. Stay with the process. Forget about what everybody else is saying. It doesn't matter. It's what you tell yourself. And you tell yourself the truth. You stay with the one which is truthful. You stay with the one which is trustworthy. So you work on that, people start to believe that this guy is trustworthy. This guy is honest. Sometimes people start to give you business because they trust you. Not because you have money. But they say that this guy is trustworthy. But if you had run away, then no, everybody will say that this guy, you cannot depend on him. And you need that. You need that people will know that you will stay with the process. You will do what you say you will do, no matter what. And if there are challenges, you will show up. That's what you do if you want to restart. You restart with a better understanding, better resilient spirit. You're tough. You're tough. And then you start to pick your team well. You start to look for people with the same kind of characteristics. You look for people who believe in hard work, who believe in intelligence, who believe in integrity, who believe in honesty, who believe in appreciation, who know that they can gradually build a business from nothing. They can, what they call bootstrap or something like that. Okay. You can build from within, small, you're going. They give you work, you give them 2 days, you do it 1 day. You put 10%, 20% on it, not 200% profit. You start, people will know that this guy is not greedy. And that becomes a better start. And everything that we have ever restarted, we restarted with better understanding and better appreciation. And every one of us has a story, which is not good. But without those stories, you will not be where you are. You will not be where you are. So when it comes to business, it's like that. So thank you very much for watching. Robert, thank you very much for watching. You can tell your friends who are interested in business that we have some information here. And we are on YouTube too, Kwabena. On YouTube, we have a lot of videos. We have over maybe 370 videos there that can inform people, because our people need information. If there is anything that Africans need more than any other thing, it's productive knowledge, productive information, because the whole world is data now. Yet our people are still locked up looking for magicians to help them, because they don't believe that the mind is that powerful. If you get the right information and you apply them, you will get the right skills and you will get results. Nobody was born with those. We all developed them. And you develop them by doing and learning. So thank you very much for watching.